I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's James, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We got married pretty young, but for the most part, I thought we had a good thing going. She's always been a bit of a bitch, sharp-tongued, quick to lie, and with a way of making herself the victim in every argument. Still, I loved her, or at least I thought I did. We had our ups and downs like everyone, but it seemed stable enough. Until I announced I was going to be a dad. That moment was supposed to be one of the happiest of my life. I was sitting in the kitchen, telling Lisa I'd finally gotten a good job offer and we were about to start a new chapter. I'd never seen her smile so genuine, so radiant. It felt like everything was finally falling into place. But then, right after I left her to call my parents and share the news, things started to change. She'd become distant, colder, and more bitchy than usual. She snapped at me over little things, like I was bothering her, just by being there. I thought maybe she was nervous about the pregnancy or just overwhelmed. She's always been dramatic. But then little signs started to pop up. Her phone, which she used to keep tucked away, started being more guarded. I'd find it lying face down more often. She started canceling plans with her friends, claiming she was too tired or busy, but I caught her sneaking texts late at night. I never thought much of it at first, just suspicion, but I kept an eye on her. I remember one night I saw her texting someone and her hand was shaking just a little. When I peeked at her phone, my stomach dropped. There were messages that didn't make any sense at the time, flirtatious, intimate, and downright suggestive. She, tell me I was just paranoid, that I was reading too much into it because I was stressed about the baby. Classic Lisa, always quick to lie, deny, and turn things around. But deep down, I felt something was off. She stopped sleeping in the same bed as me, started working late, and her attitude got even worse. The way she looked at me, like I was a stranger or worse. An obstacle made my stomach churn. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it, that it was just pregnancy hormones or stress. But I just knew that there was more to it. Then I found the proof. It was accidental, one of those moments where everything just falls into place without you expecting it. I went into her purse looking for my keys and I saw her phone sitting there unlocked. I wasn't snooping, just in a rush, but I saw the messages. They weren't just friendly banter. They were explicit, dirty, about how much she wanted him, how she loved the way he made her feel. His name was Mike, my best friend. That's when everything hit me like a freight train. She was cheating on me with my best friend. Right after I told her I was going to be a dad, she lied about everything, knew I was vulnerable, and still went ahead and did this. The betrayal was like a punch to the gut. I remember standing there, trembling, trying to process what I'd just seen. I felt like I was falling, like the ground was just giving way beneath me. I wanted to scream, cry, punch something, all at the same time. How could she do this? How could she be so cruel? I thought I knew her. I thought I loved her, but all I felt then was rage and heartbreak. That's when I realized I couldn't stay silent. I had to confront her, had to know what the hell was really going on. I called her then and there, told her I knew about the messages. Her reaction, she just laughed. A cold, bitchy laugh, like I was some fool who'd finally caught on. She told me I was overreacting, that she was just talking, that I was insecure. Yeah, that's what she said, but I wasn't stupid. I knew the truth, and that was only the beginning. After she laughed at me, I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she be so calm, so dismissive after what I just found out? I told her I saw everything, that I wasn't stupid. Her response was infuriating. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're imagining things, James. You're just nervous because of the pregnancy. You're paranoid as usual." That made me even angrier. Paranoid. Yeah, right, I'd seen enough to know she was lying. Through her teeth, but there was also that part of me that hesitated, questioning everything I thought I knew about her, about us. I remember standing there, fists clenched, trying to keep my cool, but inside I was boiling. I wanted to lash out, to scream at her. I wanted to ask her why she was doing this, why she was hurting me like this. But I also knew I had to be strategic. My mind raced. What could I do next? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was sitting right in front of me. I needed to confront her properly, get her to admit it, or at least see how far gone she was. The next few days were a nightmare. She kept acting like everything was normal, but I could see her sneaking around, trying to hide her phone more than ever. She'd go out with her friends and come back late, smelling of perfume I didn't recognize. I started following her, just a little, to see who she was meeting. That's when I saw her getting into a car with Mike, my best friend, after work one afternoon. They stayed in the car for about 20 minutes and I watched from a distance. It hit me like a punch. This wasn't just some flirtation. It was real. They were hiding something and now I knew exactly what. I decided I couldn't just sit around anymore. I needed to confront her face to face, but I also wanted to catch the full truth. So I planned to do it on my terms. I waited until she was supposed to be at her mother's house. Then I went into our bedroom and started pulling out all the evidence I had collected over the past couple of days. Screenshots, her texts, even some of her private messages she'd forgotten to delete. I wanted her to see that I wasn't bluffing, that I had proof. I also wanted her to get a taste of what it felt like to be caught, to be exposed. When I finally sat her down that evening, her face was already full of that bitchy smirk, like she thought she was untouchable. I laid everything out, her texts, the pictures from the parking lot, the times I followed her. Her reaction, she lost her temper. She started crying, but not because she was sorry. No, she was pissed. She called me a jealous, insecure idiot, said I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat on me. She told me I was ruining everything, that I was just jealous of her happiness because I wasn't getting any sex anymore. That last part stung hard, because I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. Furious that she could lie so blatantly, so effortlessly, and then turn it all around on me. I asked her why. Why did she do this? Why did she betray me, especially now when I was about to become a father? Her answer: "It's not what you think. He's just a sex thing, a distraction. I don't love him. I never loved him. You're the one I want, James. You're the only one I ever loved." I almost laughed. Of course she said that, classic Lisa, full of bullshit. I could see right through it. The pain was so raw, I didn't even know what to say anymore. I just sat there staring at her, feeling like I was losing my mind. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything, her lies, her sneers, the way she dismissed what I'd seen as if it was nothing. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and most of all, lost. My heart was breaking, but I knew I had to get out of that house, get some space, some clarity. I told her I was done talking, that I needed time to think. It was the first real step I took toward making some decisions. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house with someone who so effortlessly lied and cheated on me, especially right before our baby was about to arrive. That's when the real pain started. Because once betrayal like this hits, everything else just becomes a blur. You question everything: your love, your trust, your own judgment. I kept asking myself if I was really the love of her life, or just some kind of temporary distraction while she chased her own selfish needs. That's the thing about betrayal. You start to wonder if you ever truly mattered to someone, or if you were just convenient, a placeholder until something better came along. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I found myself oscillating between anger, sadness, and a sickening sense of numbness. Every time I thought about her, that bitchy smirk, or the lies she spat out, I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept replaying the moments of confrontation, her voice, her dismissiveness. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs earlier, how I let her get away with so much bullshit. I was furious at her, but I was also furious at myself for not seeing it sooner. I even started questioning everything about our relationship. Had I ever really known her? Was she ever the love of my life, or was I just a temporary distraction for her too? I mean, I was about to be a dad and she was out there, sneaking around, lying, cheating. I felt so used, like I was just some placeholder in her life, someone she kept around because she could, not because she truly cared. That realization hit hard. It made me sick to think I had poured so much into this woman, only to discover she was capable of this level of betrayal. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. Part of me wanted to explode, to confront her again, to tell her exactly how much she'd hurt me. But I also knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. Instead, I decided to step back, to gather my thoughts and figure out what I really wanted. I reached out to a few close friends, told them everything, and surprisingly, they were the only people who didn't judge me. They said I deserved better, that I shouldn't waste my energy on someone who clearly didn't value me anymore. That was a small comfort amidst all the chaos. One night I sat in our living room alone, staring at the wall, feeling the weight of everything. That's when I realized that I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. This relationship was over, at least for me. I knew I had to cut her out completely, at least for now. I started packing some of my things, planning to leave the house, maybe rent a place nearby or stay with a friend for a while. I needed distance, clarity, and most importantly, to protect myself emotionally. The thought of her just walking around, acting like everything was fine, made me want to vomit. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she pretend she cared, knowing what she'd done? But beyond that, I wondered what she was telling herself. Did she really believe her own lies? Or was she just good at that, lying, manipulating, convincing herself she was right? I've never been the kind of guy to hold grudges, but this betrayal changed everything. It made me realize that love isn't enough sometimes. Trust has to be there, or everything crumbles. And if someone is willing to cheat on you with your best friend, right after you announce you're about to bring a child into the world, how do you even come back from that? Honestly, I don't think I can. The hardest part isn't even the betrayal itself. It's the sense of loss, losing what I thought was my life, losing the trust I had in her, in us. I keep asking myself if I should try to forgive her, or if I should just walk away. And honestly, I don't know. Part of me wants to believe that she's just a bitchy, selfish person who's always been like that deep down. But another part of me feels broken, wondering if I ever truly meant anything to her at all. That question haunts me. Was I just a temporary distraction? Maybe I was and maybe I wasn't, but either way, I'm done playing her game. I deserve better. We all do. The decision to leave was not easy, but it was necessary. I couldn't stay under the same roof with a woman who had so thoroughly betrayed me, especially now that I was about to become a father. I packed my bags in the dead of night, trying to keep it together while my heart was pounding like a drum. I didn't even tell her I was leaving, just quietly took my things, left a note on the counter saying I needed space, and walked out. The house felt colder without her presence, and I could still hear the echoes of her mocking laughter in my mind as I closed the door behind me. I found a cheap apartment nearby and moved in that same night. I needed space, but more than that, I needed to breathe. The first few days were hell, lonely, quiet, and filled with a growing sense of despair. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that bitchy smirk, the messages from Mike, the way she lied so effortlessly. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all of it, how I let her manipulate me into thinking she was the love of my life when she was just playing me the whole time. I thought I knew her, trusted her, and now I was left with nothing but ashes. The worst part was feeling like I had failed. Failed myself, failed her, failed our unborn child. I kept picturing what she was doing now, probably out with Mike, laughing, probably planning her next move. Maybe she even thought she'd get away with it. That thought made my blood boil. I wanted to do something to hurt her as she'd hurt me, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I was angry, yes. Hurt, definitely. But I also knew I had to keep my head clear for my own sanity, and for the baby I was about to bring into the world. I spent hours just staring at the wall, replaying everything, trying to find some kind of answer or explanation. Was I ever really the love of her life? Or was I just a convenient distraction while she chased her own selfish desires? Those questions haunted me. I didn't have a clear answer, but I knew I couldn't keep living in this limbo. I had to decide what I was going to do next, whether to try and repair things or to cut her out of my life entirely. One thing I was sure about, I couldn't stay with her. Not anymore. Her lies, her manipulation, her selfishness. She'd shown her true colors and I couldn't ignore it. I also knew I couldn't trust her when she said she loved me. Not after what I found out. That kind of betrayal cuts deep and it doesn't heal easily. I started to think about the future, about what kind of life I wanted for my kid, and honestly, it felt like I was starting over from scratch. I had to figure out how to rebuild myself, alone, without her. The hardest part was accepting that I might never fully get closure. Part of me still wonders if she's truly sorry or if she's just pretending to be for her own sake. But I've come to realize that I don't need her apology. What I need is to move forward for me and my child. Whether that's alone or someday with someone who actually deserves my trust, I don't know. But I do know one thing: I can't keep living in the shadow of her betrayal. I owe myself better than that. I owe my baby a life free of dishonesty and deception. That's what keeps me going now. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into trying to put everything behind me. It wasn't easy, and honestly, some days I felt like I was just going through the motions. I started counseling, trying to process all the pain and betrayal. The therapist told me I needed to focus on myself, on healing, and I knew she was right. I couldn't fix what Lisa had done, but I could fix how I responded to it. I was determined to be a better father, no matter what happened with her or our relationship. I cut all contact with Lisa for a while. No calls, no texts, no messages. I needed space to breathe, to figure out how to move on without letting her poison me further. But honestly, the anger never really went away. Sometimes it boiled up out of nowhere, catching me off guard. I'd see a picture of her online or hear a song that reminded me of what we lost, and I'd feel that familiar surge of rage and heartbreak all over again. Still, I kept reminding myself that I was doing this for my child. I was going to be the best dad I could be, despite everything. One day, I decided to confront her face to face, not out of hope or love, more out of necessity. I needed to hear her say it, to hear her admit what she'd done, even if it was just to finalize the pain. I reached out and asked her to meet. She agreed, of course, with that same bitchy attitude she always had, acting like I was bothering her. When we sat down, she tried to spin it again, saying she was confused, that she never really wanted to hurt me, that Mike was just some stupid mistake. I looked her in the eyes and told her I knew her better than she thought, that I knew she'd been lying the whole time. She got defensive, started crying, and then spun some bullshit about how she was only seeking something she was missing, that I wasn't enough anymore, and that she didn't mean for it to get so out of hand. She played the victim, as usual. I told her I didn't want her excuses or her lies anymore. I told her I was done with the drama, that she'd broken whatever little trust we had, and I was walking away for good. That's when she finally looked at me with real anger, like I'd betrayed her even more. I realized then that I couldn't rely on her anymore. I couldn't hope for some miraculous change. She was who she was: bitchy, manipulative, and selfish. I didn't want her to be part of my life anymore. I wanted to focus on my future and trying to be a decent father to my kid, regardless of what Lisa thought or said. I told her that if she wanted to be in her child's life, she'd have to do better, and that meant no more lies, no more games. I made it clear I was done being her punching bag, her emotional toy. That conversation marked a turning point. I started making real plans for myself, working out, saving money, thinking about what kind of dad I wanted to be. I knew I had a long road ahead, but I also knew I couldn't keep living in that toxic environment. I needed to be strong for myself, for my unborn child, and for the future I wanted to build. I kept reminding myself that I deserved honesty, respect, and real love, things Lisa never gave me. Looking back now, I see how much I've grown. It's been a brutal lesson in trust and betrayal, but also in resilience. I still wonder sometimes if she's really sorry or if she's just pretending, but I've come to accept that I don't need her to validate my feelings anymore. I'm learning to rely on myself, to rebuild what's broken, and to focus on what truly matters. My biggest hope is that my kid grows up knowing what real love and honesty look like, and that I can be the kind of dad who shows them, not just in words but in actions. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize how much I've changed, how much I've had to grow just to keep going. The betrayal was a blow I never expected, especially from someone I loved and trusted so much. It felt like my entire world was crumbling, and for a while I didn't see a way out. But somehow I managed to find a way to pick myself up, to rebuild piece by piece. I learned that love isn't just about the good times, it's also about honesty, loyalty, and respect. If those things aren't there, then nothing else really matters. I've come to see that sometimes you have to lose everything to realize what truly matters. I lost my wife, my illusion of security, my trust, everything I thought was solid. But I also gained clarity. I know now that I deserve someone who loves me, who respects me, and who would never cheat on me with my own best friend. I deserve honesty, not lies. And I owe that to myself and my child, to be the kind of man who stands tall despite everything. The hardest lesson I learned is that revenge isn't worth it. I didn't want to burn her or ruin her life, though part of me felt like she deserved it. What I really wanted was to reclaim my dignity, to prove to myself that I could survive this and come out stronger. That's what I've done. I've taken the pain, the heartbreak, the anger, and I've turned it into motivation to build a better future. For me, for my kid, and for anyone else who's been betrayed like I was. So if there's one thing I could say to anyone in a similar situation, whether it's cheating, lies, or any betrayal, it's this: don't let it define you. Don't stay stuck in the anger or the guilt. Use it as fuel to move forward. Protect your peace, focus on your well-being, and never settle for less than honesty and respect. Because in the end, that's all that really matters. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's hard to fix. But you can rebuild yourself, stronger, wiser, and more aware of what you truly deserve. That's what I've learned, and I hope it helps anyone else who finds themselves in the dark.